Welcome back to another episode by the FPL Draft Duo. We are a duo dedicated to bring the FPL Draft to a wider audience. We give out constant content on YouTube and our podcast where we answer listener questions, help with trade dilemmas, give waiver suggestions, and help with tips and tricks around the FPL Draft Mode.
Do make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok to keep up with all things FPL Draft. If you are new to the draft or looking at getting into it for the second half of the season, do check out our early podcast episodes, episode 2, 3 and 4, where we go into in-depth detail on how to set up the draft and drafting strategy.
There's a small bit more time between waiver deadlines over the next coming game weeks. The next waiver deadline is 6:30 on Friday 15th of December, followed by 6:30 on Wednesday and then 11 AM on Monday, Stephen's Day. Make sure to get your waivers in to have the edge over your opponent. This week's waiver of the week was a Dingra with 10 points against Burnley.
Our punt of the week was Richarlison. He returned with 2 goals against Newcastle, and this punt was a last minute punt given on Twitter, so do make sure to follow us for those last minute waiver suggestions.
A lot of our waivers and watch lists are still relevant. All of the selected players on the screen are now great options for the coming game weeks. If you want more details on waiver suggestions and watch list players that we've given, have a look back at our previous episodes to get the full details. Let's get straight on to our Game Week 17 waivers. There has been massive changes in the goalkeeping position over the last couple of game weeks. A lot of players that were previously tipped are now not options. Bentley has lost his place to Jose Sa, who has returned from injury, as well as Kelleher. Vlachodimos of Forest has also got rotated this game week with Turner. So the Forest goalkeeping position is up for grabs. The rotation came off the back of a 5-0 loss for Forest. Whether Turner or Vlachodimos is going to be the number 1 keeper for Forest is still up in the air. So don't rush to get rid of him, as he might play in the next game week. Other rotations came off the back of a couple of injuries. Sanchez came off late in Chelsea's loss, and he looked very disappointed. Maybe he thinks he might have lost his place. Petrovic has come on for Chelsea and may be an option for the next couple of game weeks. He's definitely a good punt against Sheffield. Matthews also might play the game for Palace next week, but the problem is Palace's fixtures are very poor. They are bottom of the fixture ticker, so even if he is an option, he mightn't reap much rewards. Finally, Areola and Fabianski have rotated over the last couple of game weeks due to injury. Areola is set for a return in Game Week 17 after a small injury. Fabianski might get one more game week, but after that, Areola is set to return on a long-term basis. If you are struggling in the goalkeeper department, don't worry. Come Christmas, there is likely to be a lot more new goalkeepers in the Premier League that might help improve your team.
Now onto our defender waiver suggestions. So these are for 12 plus size leagues. So first up is Patterson. With Ashley Young and Seamus Coleman likely to miss the next fixture due to injury, the exciting, young, talented Patterson is a great option. He has 2 assists so far this season and a 0.7 expected assists. Everton do play Burnley away this weekend, so if you are looking to attack this fixture and a 1-week punt, Nathan Patterson is a great option.
Another player in a large size league that could be a good 1-week punt is Lewis Hall. Trippier is suspended with 5 yellow cards, and although Newcastle haven't looked convincing in the last couple of game weeks, they are very good defensively at home. They've kept 5 clean sheets in the last 10 games, all of which were at home. They were against the likes of United, Arsenal, Palace, Burnley and Brentford. So although Fulham are a good attacking side over the last couple of game weeks, Lewis Hall could be a good 1-week punt.
Next up is Alex Moreno. Now with Luca Dean suspended due to 5 yellow cards, Moreno is likely to start Game Week 17 against Brentford. Now Moreno has seen some great returns, particularly towards the tail end of last season. So if he does get in, he's a great option with the potential to get those attacking returns as well. So he is a great punt this weekend with Luca Dean out, but if he plays well, there is the opportunity that he will be a consistent starter. So Villa plays Sheffield, Man United, Burnley and then Everton in the next 5 games. Although he is a 1-week punt for Brentford, I would be looking to hold him for those good fixtures with the possibility of him retaining his place.
Doughty is also a great option in larger size leagues. Although he plays for Luton, he has some nice fixtures coming up in the next 5 where you can actually rotate him as a defender. He's already got 3 assists this season and is on dead balls. Luton will look to the air to get some returns, so Doughty could be a great option as a rotation defender. In smaller size leagues, Bournemouth defenders will be very sought after. They are one of the most informed teams in the Premier League with 4 wins and a draw in their last 5. They play Luton, Forest and Fulham in the next 3, so if you pick one of these guys up, you can hold them and play them for the next 3 game weeks. We have them ranked here: Senesi number 1, Kirkes 2, Zabarni 3 and Smith 4. We have it in this formation as Senesi poses very good aerial threat. Kirkes is a very attacking left back and has the possibility of getting some attacking returns. Zabarni is also good in the air and Smith is a good option but has the possibility of getting rotated for the game week 19 fixture where Max Aarons could be back in the team. If you get any of these 3, you should be happy to hold for the next 3 and see how they get on. They are relatively short term picks, as after the next 3 game weeks they're more than likely going to be put back on the waiver, but for the foreseeable they're good picks. Top of our defender lists in small size leagues are Villa players. Diego Carlos has started the last 4 games for Villa. If Diego Carlos can nail down a position long term, Villa have some fantastic fixtures over the next 10. He has played at centre back where Konza has also gone to right back. Matty Cash has dropped out of the team, so there is a possibility of Cash getting back in there at some stage. Diego Carlos is definitely a good pick over the short term, and see does he retain his place. If Konza is available on the waiver, we would definitely recommend getting him. He's a nail player for Villa over the whole course of the season, and if you have him for the next 10 game weeks, you'll be happy to start him in about 7 or 8 of those games.
Next up is our midfielder waiver suggestions in large size leagues. So first up, we're going to discuss our steady eddies. These are players that are nailed, and especially over a busy Christmas period, you need all the points that you can get. Over the last 2 weeks, we have recommended Joe Linton and Bruno Guimaraes. Joe Linton returned with a goal last week, and Bruno Guimaraes was very unlucky not to score with some very good striking efforts. Added to the list is Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff is back from injury now, and with 2 goals and 2 assists this season, he is a steady Eddie with the potential to get those returns. Do listen to our weekly podcast as we go into more in-depth detail on our steady Eddies, and more particularly Sean Longstaff, as he could be Newcastle's saviour in this tough period.
Next up are our Fulham boys. We go into detail answering some questions on our podcast regarding these players. In short, we have ranked them. Number 1 is Andres Pereira. He may be taken in a lot of leagues, but even in small size leagues, if he's not taken, he's still a great option. Fulham have some great fixtures over the next 7 or 8 game weeks where you can play some of these in about 5 or 6 of those games. Also on that list is Iwobi. He has nailed down his place for Fulham and looks like he has very good attacking threat. As well as that, Harry Wilson is now an option with Willian's injury. He's on set pieces and returned last week, and he looks like he has nailed down a place in the Fulham side. Tom Kearney is also a good option, but he's bottom of our list because he has been rotated. When Willian comes back, there will be a shuffle around in the Fulham side, but for now, Andres, Iwobi, Wilson and Tom Kearney are good picks over the short term.
As Nosey mentioned, Bournemouth are one of the most informed sides at the moment, so Christie is our next waiver suggestion. So Bournemouth play Luton, Forest and Fulham in their next 3 games. Christie, with 2 assists this season and 6 big chances created, if you want to get into that Bournemouth attack in 12 plus size leagues, Christie can be a great option for those 3 very good fixtures in the short term. With Bournemouth, there are some other options like Kluivert and Semenyo, but Christie looks like the most nailed player, especially in this busy Christmas period.
Our punt of the week this week is Kovacic. We pick him because there's so little Man City players to choose from on the waivers, and Palace are very limited in their selection this week. They have an array of injuries, which will make them very vulnerable. We expect City to win easily, and although Kovacic is not very exciting, because Man City holds so much of the ball and Kovacic has a good long range shot, he's a possibility if you have some injuries in your team. He's also likely to be on the free agent after the waivers this week, so if you do have some injuries in your team and you're looking for someone to pick up that might have a good chance of returning against a lackluster side, Kovacic could be a good pick.
On to our midfielder suggestions in smaller size leagues. So first up is Dwight McNeil. So Dwight McNeil has been playing very well of late, picking up some very good positions. He has 2 goals and 2 assists this season. And Everton, in the next couple of games, play Burnley, Wolves and Fulham. He has been very unlucky not to return more and has been on some set pieces as well. So if Everton can keep up their good form, Dwight McNeil can be a great option.
A player that we suggested to pick up a small bit early on last week's podcast is Tavernier. He returned with 2 assists in the last game week and he's on some dead balls for Bournemouth. He has a fantastic whip and is going to be a great option over the next 3. As we've seen over the weekend, Bournemouth have a very good aerial threat, and with Tavernier's good set pieces and Billings and Solanke's very good aerial threat, he has a very high probability of returning over the next 3 game weeks.
Our last midfielder waiver suggestion is Richarlison. So we tipped him last week on Twitter as a last minute punt and he returned with 2 goals. Richarlison, who is down as a midfielder, is playing as a striker for Spurs. With Ange Postecoglou coming out in the media saying that Son's preferred position is on the left wing, Richarlison does now seem more nailed down the middle. Spurs are top in terms of expected goals this season, and if Richarlison can keep his form up, he can be a great option, especially over the next 4 game weeks.
As always, there's not many forward options in the draft, but there is 3 options that might improve your team slightly. Mateta might get the start in game week 17 with Edouard picking up an injury. The problem with Mateta is that Palace have a very hard run of fixtures. Although he has returned with 3 assists, his expected assist is only 0.56. As mentioned, Palace have a serious amount of injuries, which makes Mateta's probability of scoring even less. If you're looking for a better option, Maupay or Adebayo of Luton are better options. Although Maupay does blank, after that he has 3 very good fixtures, also compiled with the fact that Wissa and Mbeumo are going to be going to the AFCON in game week 21 to 24, so Maupay might be looking at a run of starts in the Brentford side. Adebayo has started the last 2 games for Luton, returning twice with 2 goals. He is part of that very good aerial threat that Luton pose. Him, coupled with Doughty, could be a good combo in larger size leagues. They also have 3 good fixtures over the next 5, so if you didn't want to start him, you could use him as a rotating striker.
If you found this helpful, we would really appreciate a like and a subscribe, maybe even tell a friend. Do make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok to keep up to date with all things FPL Draft. If you're the type of person that prefers to listen to a podcast, do make sure to check out our podcast FPL Draft Duo for more in-depth analysis on all things waiver suggestions, trade dilemmas and tips and tricks to help you succeed in FPL Draft. Thanks for watching and we'll catch you next week.